The fuck's going on, Schmoville? It's been a minute since I talked to you about a flick. Been doing a podcast though. It's called Film Fatigue. Follow that. SoundCloud and iTunes. Links in the description. Let's talk about this movie. You guys know how I feel about this. If any of you listen or watch my videos, which doesn't seem to happen, it's okay though. Spider-Man: Homecoming. This is the new Spider-Man film directed by John Watts of Cop Car fame, ghost directed by Kevin Feige, the shit man of Shittown. And we got Tom Holland in here. He's 7 years old playing Peter Parker because, they were tired of people who are, seasoned actors playing this character, and they're like, let's get this fucking kid who says, that's awesome, and says, have you ever seen that really old movie? That really old movie, The Empire Strikes Back? And he doesn't even say that, does he? In Civil War, he's like, that really old movie, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back? Whatever the fuck he says, that little fucker. So we get this kid, he comes in here, and this is going to be a John Hughes style film, right? That's what we were told. It's like, come on, guys. I know we rebooted. We had Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, and then we rebooted it with Mark Webb, which was perfect because his last name is fucking Webb. Come on. Right? Why let that go? We got Mark Webb out because Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was good, by the way. Come at me with your shit. That movie was wonderful. It was so fun, and it was so the essence of Spider-Man, which is the only superhero, to be honest, I give a shit about. It was so the essence of that character. It got so many of those moments right, and it had balls. It killed off maybe the most praised part of those movies, which was the relationship between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Killed that off. They actually killed her in that movie. It was so cool that they did that, and legitimately emotional. That's a good movie. You all can shut the fuck up. I know people were excited about Spider-Man coming back to Marvel. Not me. Not your man. Why the fuck did I say that? I'm never going to say that again in a video or an audio clip. I wasn't excited because I thought Sony was going in the right direction with Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I would have been so pumped to see Andrew Garfield in Amazing Spider-Man 3. I think that would have been lit as fuck. Not saying that again either. So Spider-Man Homecoming, they told us, I know we rebooted it a bunch. This is going to be a John Hughes style film. It's going to be like The Breakfast Club, but Spider-Man, which is what they always fucking say. They said for, Doctor Strange, it was like a trippy sci-fi epic whatever. They said Captain America Civil War was going to be an emotional horror movie, like kill yourself. It's all bullshit whenever they bring up these little genre descriptors. So they said this was going to be a John Hughes style coming of age movie. Didn't buy it for a second. The trailers did not excite me at all because, for one, the movie looked just aesthetically, visually, it looked abysmal, like something that I would see in a nightmare. If I was going to sleep and thinking about, wow, movies these days and these big blockbusters, they just all look kind of gross and they don't have really good cinematography. I would go to sleep and I would have a nightmare that was the trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming. Just this gray fucking spotlight ass trailer. Wasn't interested at all. And Tom Holland looked so awful. Just all the time. He's always making these faces like, I'm 15. Ooh, I'm awkward around girls. He was always doing all this shit, so I didn't care about that. Michael Keaton kind of looked okay. But, Marvel always fucks up their villains, so I didn't really care. I went into Spider-Man Homecoming. I just got out, okay? And wasn't terrible. Thought it was going to be terrible. It wasn't terrible. There were some good things going for this movie, and I will get into that first, I suppose. For one, okay, I don't like Tom Holland as this character. I don't think he was the right choice. I mean, he does kind of get that weird, awkward teenager thing, but it's not in an endearing way. It's just in an annoying way that I'm like, can you fucking stop? Can you just fucking stop? Like, I know that you're awkward. Okay, I get it. But it's not believable that you're this awkward and strange. I still don't think he's very good. But he was way less annoying than I thought he was going to be in this. There were some moments that I legitimately laughed at his character, which I wasn't expecting to. at all. And there were some moments where he actually was Spider-Man that I thought he came off pretty well. I thought some of the banter he had in his little fight scenes was pretty good. His little fight scenes, that little tyke, his little fight scenes with the little bank robbers. Some of that was pretty good, not gonna lie. And it was way better, honestly, those little action scenes where he's just kind of dealing with people on the street. I was way more into that than when he's fighting Vulture and there's helicarriers involved. Like, fuck off with that. I don't care anymore. Thing with Kevin Feige, and if you've gotten this far in this little review, you know Kevin Feige, right? MCU guy. He's the head of all this. PGA. Kevin Feige. In charge of the MCU. His whole thing is he's got to have helicarriers, right? In all these movies, there's got to be a fucking helicarrier. And he wants all the movies to look as gross as possible. Like, I don't get this. This movie must have been, what, like $130 million price tag, and it looks like shit. It's just garbage. The cinematography is so bland and gray and gross. You could do better than this. The visual effects are pretty awful, and there are some points where it's like you see Spider-Man flipping off a thing and he lands on the ground, and it's like a video game. It's really awful. And most of the time his suit is animated. It's gross. They need to cut this out. Make the movies look better. You got the money. You have the talent. Let the movies look like movies. That's all I'm saying. Let the movies look like movies. Look at what DC does, right? And before anybody comes at me with some dumb shit, all right? DC movies, I get it. They have their problems, for sure. But those movies look like movies. Batman v Superman, you can't tell me that didn't look like a Zack Snyder movie. Man of Steel, you can't tell me that it didn't look like a Zack Snyder movie. Suicide Squad had a look, right? Wonder Woman had a look. Let the movies look like movies. Get that cinematography on point. Let those blacks be deep. No, that wasn't a race reference. I'm talking about the blacks in the picture, right? They got to be deeper. Get the colors up, yo. Okay? So, yeah, this movie looked bad. So the little action scenes, though, were still enjoyable because they had some funny little bits in there. And I like the one scene in this movie, spoilers, by the way. I like the one scene in this movie where he's trying to help this lady just on, a random neighborhood block. And then... Or sorry, it wasn't that scene. It was the scene where he's trying to stop a guy from breaking into a car. He stops him, and then the alarm starts going off, so he's freaking out the neighbors, and everyone's kind of like in a square formation yelling shit at him, and there's a pretty funny shot of him just reacting to all these people being pissed at him. Him being the quote-unquote friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, that stuff all worked. I was into that in this movie. Other stuff I was into. Michael Keaton as the villain. Again, spoilers for all this. So, if you don't want to know what happens in this movie, and I would suggest, honestly, that you don't, because there's a twist in this movie that I didn't see coming at all. That's very strange for a Marvel movie. I loved the twist of Michael Keaton being the father of this girl that Peter wants to fuck, right? That was sweet. Like, I didn't see that coming at all, and it had a nice little payoff. That whole scene, the build up to the homecoming dance, where there's this brewing tension between Michael Keaton and Tom Holland, that was real. Like, I was into that moment, and it was funny, and the tone was interesting for that brief moment. So I really liked that, and I liked that this Michael Keaton character, contrary to a lot of the Marvel villains thus far, this was a guy that you could see what he was going for. His motivations made sense, and it wasn't this abstract or just this big overarching, I want the world destroyed, I want to take over the world bullshit. It's just the guy, he's pissed off about some shit in his life, and about, they even try to have some weird low-key social commentary on classes in America. That was a little strange and didn't play out very much at all. It was just a thing he was saying, apparently, to get Spider-Man to not realize he's about to kick his ass and get him, covered in rubble. So that was odd. But this was a guy whose motivations you got. They were simple, but they were serviceable. And I said in my little letterbox thing I wrote up, you know, serviceable is better than not giving a fuck, which these movies usually don't give a fuck. They're like, Malekith, what is he? I don't know. He's a fucking elf. And he wants to, you know, put everything in a black hole. And the people in the writing room are like, we have to wait. So we have to make a movie with Thor, and then there's the elf. Yeah, man, it's a fucking elf. Just make it. Make the fucking elf movie that I told you to. So they make an elf movie with Will Ferrell. R.I.P. Chris Noreen. So I liked that. I liked that character. He was okay. It was just okay, but okay was good enough. Some of the jokes in here I thought were pretty funny. The Captain America shit with him doing the little PSAs throughout the movie, that killed me. Those were hysterical. Like maybe some of the funniest stuff in any Marvel movie to date. I was laughing out loud. And the one after the credits was incredible. That was really funny. I liked some of the lines that his friend that looks like our friend Chris Noreen, who is in jail right now, and we're gonna find out what's happening to him soon. I'm very nervous about it, so that's why it's coming out of my mouth. And I know you don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm gonna get off that topic. His friend character, the one who's like, oh, "You're Spider-Man," and drops the Lego structure. Yeah, he wasn't horrible in this movie. He had some lines that fell flat, but everyone in this movie did. Like everyone had a comedic moment that was just like, ooh, not good, not good at all. But some of his lines were funny. I liked in the scene at the dance when he's helping out Peter. He's being his guy in the chair, and then the teacher comes in and he has to make an excuse for why he's in the library on the computers while the dance is happening. And he's like, I was looking at porn. That was funny, you know. It wasn't like, oh my god, I'm guffawing. I guffawed at the Captain America shit, right? That wasn't a guffaw moment, but it was like a and there were a lot of those kinds of moments where I was like, you know, it was like, okay. Even some of the Tom Holland shit, like I laughed at some of the stuff he said in this movie just because I think he sold it in certain moments. Most of the time he was just doing that awkward kid thing, but sometimes he sold it. Like some of the comedic characters that didn't work is like the you know, it's not, I don't know if it's Zendaya, that might be his main love interest. Whoever the girl is that's the side girl that's just there to kind of throw in a weird comment, and she's like a protester, and she makes that comment about the Washington Monument where she's like, I don't want to respect something that was made by slaves. It's like, all right, what the fuck are you talking about? And then they have that weird cutaway to the black guy who's like, yeah, I was. That was a very strange moment. That was very weird. Other stuff that didn't work comedy-wise, anytime they tried to make Aunt May funny, fucking Marissa Tomei, who they've just sexualized so much at this point that it's just awkward whenever she has like an intimate moment with Tom Holland, because like, she can fuck Tom Holland in this? Like, that would be really weird if she did that. Are they even blood related? I don't know, but I was like, what the fuck? Like, is she gonna fuck Tom Holland? It was very odd, and they keep doing it throughout the movie. Everyone's always making sexual comments about her. It was very strange. Anytime they tried to make her funny, I was not having that. Let's see, what else wasn't funny? Donald Glover wasn't funny. I don't know if he was, because he's basically just putting on this weird like gangster guy. There was a lot of just, you know, comedy side actors in here just to be in the movie for some reason. Like Hannibal Buress was in here and they didn't give him anything to do. He had one moment that was kind of funny in the gym. So it's definitely not like this movie was hitting with the jokes all the time. But when it was funny, I did chuckle, and there were legitimately funny moments, and Tom Holland had some just good reactions like that build up, where Michael Keaton realizes that he is Spider-Man and he's realizing that he's the Vulture, and they have kind of this weird, awkward silence between them. Some of his reactions to questions that he's posing to him are funny. So there are nice comedic moments just nicely peppered, seasoned across this movie. So it's not like you're ever going through these massive dry spells. Also, who I thought was funny, Happy, Jon Favreau in this movie. The Marvel tie-ins I'll get into. That was horrible. But he was really funny. Robert Downey Jr. was not, but he was funny. I liked his first little moment in this. You know, the movie starts with a film by Peter Parker segment. And I really enjoyed just him in the background in this one moment being like, God damn it. And then it just cut to the next clip. That was funny. And he had some good lines. And there was a good moment with him and when he has Peter come into the bathroom to, you know, he's basically going to tell him he's going to be reinstated as an Avenger or whatever. That was a funny moment, that awkward silence with the kid coming out of the toilet. Like, it's a joke, you know, we've seen that joke before, but that was funny. So yeah, decent comedic moments peppered, seasoned throughout this movie. And I would say probably the biggest positive, the thing that keeps it moving, is just the pacing of this movie. It is very good, especially in the first 2 acts of the movie. It's just very quick. It's breezy. It's not just throwing a bunch of exposition and shit at you for no reason and just dragging things out. It has a clip to it. It goes to that clip and it's interesting. So, interesting is too strong a word. It's fine. Okay? It's fine as it's doing that. Getting past that shit, let's get into where this movie really, you know, starts fucking up. I guess I'll start with the Marvel aspect. Yeah, the cinematic universe stuff in this. Like, Michael Keaton's character being a construction worker who's helping pick up the remains of the Avengers Tower disaster in the first Avengers movie. Like, whatever. But, oh my God, every time Robert Downey Jr. showed up in this movie, I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to rip my seat, my nice leather seat. I wanted to cut it with a fucking knife and take the cotton out and shove it down my throat until I couldn't breathe, because he was so unfunny. And every joke, and he was constantly making jokes in this movie. It was just like dud, 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 dud. And I wanted him to shut the fuck up, and he wouldn't shut the fuck up. And he kept coming into the movie, whether it was himself, or him as Iron Man, or him being in some other country and talking through the Iron Man vessel, you know, the ones that he just controls and he can send, that they had like an Iron Man 3. Every time he showed up, ugh. And then that scene at the end, where he's, you know, officially welcome Peter Parker into the Avengers. No, that was the worst, especially because for the vast majority of this movie, you're just seeing this through Spider-Man's point of view, basically. You know, like a couple scenes with Michael Keaton where Spider-Man is not in it. But then at the end of the movie, as it's wrapping up Spider-Man's main story, you know, Tom Holland like walks out of the building, and then we just cut to this horrible, quote unquote, comedic back and forth with Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow and Jon Favreau. It was so awful. I was embarrassed for what they were trying to do. Get the Avengers the fuck out, okay? Keep the Captain America PSA, because that shit was funny. Get everything else out. So that was awful. The action, it did get a little overblown at points. I thought the whole final battle, with like the plane, it wasn't too long, but it was so ugly to look at, and it was just like exploding and CGI and gross metal helicarriers and all that. Didn't need it at all. They should have just had their final fight in that warehouse and just punched each other. And I know you can't do that because he's the Vulture. Who gives a fuck if he's the Vulture? Just have them punch each other. And he wasn't even cool. It's such a Marvel move that they take Spider-Man, who has the coolest villains, like, and just the coolest looking villains. And in this movie, they from the get-go, they're like, who do we want? Let's take the fucking Vulture. Like, who gives a shit about the Vulture? Let's take the Vulture and the Shocker. And then we're not even going to make the Vulture look cool. He's just going to be a fucking robot bird. Like, what? Absolutely not. I don't accept that. And the Shocker, are you kidding? It's just the guy from Fargo season 2, and he puts a metal thing on his hand and shocks, but he doesn't even really shock anything. It doesn't look like the Shocker. That was bullshit. Shocker's not in this movie. They shouldn't be allowed to say that. He's not in the movie. And so yeah, Vulture doesn't even look cool, so who gives a shit if he's in the Vulture costume for their final fight? It doesn't even look cool. They should have just fought in that warehouse. That final scene was weird. The scene on the ferry was pretty ugly too, where the boat ends up being split in half. That was stupid. And then of course Iron Man shows up again, and you hear the little Avengers theme kind of underscoring it. It's like, oh my god, he's back again. Stop. Please stop this. But they don't stop. They can't stop. They're like fucking Miley Cyrus. I'm done with the references. Okay. Whew, that was really bad. The action, did not look good. Little action scenes, okay, but editing at points was also really bad. Marvel yet again fucked up another cut to credits. They try to end it with the joke because Aunt May is seeing that he's Spider-Man in the last shot, and she's like, what the fuck? And then it cuts, but she doesn't say what the fuck. She's like, what the fight? And then it cuts in the middle of her saying fight. It's like, you aren't even saying fuck. Like, what is this? And all these movies have a horrible cuts to credits. They could have done way more, I would say, in terms of like the teen aspect of this movie. They were just very baseline with the type of shit they did. Some of it, I don't even know if they were intending it to be funny. I mean, obviously they were intending it to be funny. What I mean is, I didn't know if they were... What I was finding funny was what they intended to be funny. Like, there's a scene with Tony Revolori, who, like, why the fuck was he in this? Where they're at this house party, and he's always calling him Penis Parker throughout the movie. Like, come on, really? That's what they came up with? And there's this one point where he's having everyone in the house chant, and he's like, Penis Parker, Penis Parker. And then, there's one point where he sees him, and he's putting a little buzzer on him, like, bow, 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 and he did it like 20 times. And I was laughing because in my head, the joke was like how fucking stupid the buzzer sound is. But I think what this movie was going for was, isn't it hilarious that the buzzer sound is happening right now? Like, it was kind of an appeal to teens who like that, like, ugh. It was annoying me because I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell what was going on. Like what I was supposed to be finding funny about that. And then there were other little appeals to almost like meme culture. Like the school news team that they had going on. That was strange. Like, I couldn't tell what that was about. They had little moments where it would like zoom in on a guy's face, and I found that kind of amusing. It was kind of in that like Vine meme style that they were trying to go for. That wasn't too obnoxious. There are some other things in here. Surprisingly, they didn't go over the top on a soundtrack, which honestly I would kind of rather them have done that. Probably the worst moment is they're doing a Ferris Bueller reference, with him like running through different yards, and then they want you to know it's a Ferris Bueller reference. So as opposed to just having that be in the movie, he runs into a yard where Ferris Bueller is playing on a TV, just in case you didn't fucking get what was happening. It's literally the scene that they're doing in the movie is on this TV screen. So why would you do that? That's so dumb. People are not that stupid. Or are they? Answer is yes, they fucking are. And it's very sad. What else? I feel like I've kind of gone through most of what I thought about this movie. It was not awful. It had decent things about it. It wasn't boring. Some of the dialogue falls completely flat or is awful. The action is not good looking. But it's a passable experience, and there's some enjoyable moments. Going forward, really just get the Avengers out of here, and hopefully Tom Holland's voice deepens a little bit, because I can't handle another like Spider-Man movie. I can't handle it, especially when you had Andrew Garfield, just the voice of an angel as Spider-Man, and just the coolest motherfucker. And now you have Tom Holland being like so no. This movie was whatever. Don't go see it, honestly. Like, I go see it because I see all these movies, and it's just a part of what I do now. So Like, I had to see it. I didn't have to see it, but I had to see it. You know what I mean? You don't have to see this. Go see Baby Driver. If you're one of these people who's like, there's no original movies left, go see Baby Driver, okay? Don't support this because we don't need this. We don't need more of this. This movie was sort of maybe fine for what they were trying to do. We don't need more. So yeah, that's what I'd say about it. It's whatever, but you probably won't hate it. Yeah, that's Spider-Man: Homecoming. Thanks for listening to this. Follow the podcast, and yeah, I will talk to you maybe another time. We're tired of people who are, seasoned actors playing this character, and they're like, let's get this fucking kid who says, "Hey, that's awesome," and says, "Have you ever seen that really old movie, The Empire Strikes Back?" And he doesn't even say that, does he? In Civil War, he's like, "That really old movie, Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back," whatever the fuck he says, that little fucker. So we get this kid, he comes in here, and this is going to be a John Hughes style film, right? That's what we were told. It's like, come on, guys. I know we rebooted. We had Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, and then we rebooted it with Mark Webb, which was perfect because his last name is fucking Webb. Come on. The fuck's going on, Schmoville? It's been a minute since I talked to you about a flick. Been doing a podcast, though. It's called Film Fatigue. Follow that. SoundCloud and iTunes. Links in the description. Let's talk about this movie. You guys know how I feel about this. If any of you listen or watch my videos, which doesn't seem to happen. It's okay, though. Spider-Man: Homecoming. This is the new Spider-Man film directed by John Watts of Cop Car fame. Ghost directed by Kevin Feige, the shit man of Shit Town. And we got Tom Holland in here. He's 7 years old playing Peter Parker because, they shut the fuck up. I know people were excited about Spider-Man coming back to Marvel. Not me. Not your man. Why the fuck did I say that? I'm never going to say that again in a video or an audio clip. I wasn't excited because I thought Sony was going in the right direction with Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I would have been so pumped to see Andrew Garfield in Amazing Spider-Man 3. I think that would have been lit as fuck. Not saying that again either. So Spider-Man: Homecoming, they told us. I know we rebooted it a bunch. This is going to be a John Hughes style film. It's going to be like The Breakfast Club, but Spider-Man, which is what they always fucking say, right? Why let that go? We got Mark Webb out because Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was good, by the way. Come at me with your shit. That movie was wonderful. It was so fun, and it was so the essence of Spider-Man, which is the only superhero, to be honest, I give a shit about. It was so the essence of that character. It got so many of those moments right, and it had balls. It killed off maybe the most praised part of those movies, which was the relationship between Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Killed that off. They actually killed her in that movie. It was so cool that they did that, and legitimately emotional. That's a good movie. You all can, they said for, Doctor Strange, it was like a trippy sci-fi epic whatever. They said Captain America Civil War was going to be an emotional horror movie, like kill yourself. It's all bullshit whenever they bring up these little genre descriptors. So they said this was going to be a John Hughes style coming of age movie. Didn't buy it for a second. The trailers did not excite me at all because, for one, the movie looked just aesthetically, visually, it looked abysmal, like something that I would see in a nightmare. If I was going to sleep and thinking about, wow, movies these days